Hello to all CineMaster lovers. Hope you enjoy watching. Let's get started. The first season ends when Joel saves Ellie from the hospital and kills everyone inside. He did this because they were trying to open her brain and take her mind, as the cure was believed to be inside her. However, Joel had become very attached to Ellie, and she became like a daughter to him, much like his own daughter Sarah, who died. He got rid of the Fireflies in the hospital, including Marlene, so no one could follow them. All this happened while Ellie was drugged. Joel lied to her and told her that he had seen many cases similar to hers, people who weren't infected. They had tried to make a cure, but it didn't work, so they stopped making any more. He also told her that the people who were killed in the hospital were part of a group with weapons, and he escaped from them. Ellie decides to leave that chapter behind and keep moving forward, carrying the weight of what happened, but not letting it hold her back. Then we see the giraffe again, only this time. Now she's with her herd, enjoying the feast nature has laid out for them in the form of lush greenery, which has begun to spread over the concrete remains of the dead city, breathing a bit of life back into the ruins. Not too far from there, we find the group of survivors with Abby. They've arrived at a makeshift graveyard where the fallen Fireflies have been laid to rest. One of them, curious about the rumors, wonders out loud why Joel would do what people say he did, suggesting he might have kidnapped some girl. But Abby's quick to shut that down, making it crystal clear that all of that is bogus. Still, the conversation goes on, throwing out the idea that Joel might be hiding something unreal. Ellie's immunity, even though the thought is dismissed pretty quick for sounding way too far-fetched, but still, it plants a seed of doubt. Then one of them suggests looking for the Fireflies until another one snaps back blunt as hell, reminding him there aren't no one left to find because the people they're talking about are lying right beneath their feet. That's when one of them speaks up and says, a guy in their crew, Ed, he's got a brother named Isaac, who's leading a whole community out in Seattle. Word is Isaac's willing to take all of them in and give them a shot at starting fresh. But Abby cuts the talk short. Before they even think about joining any other group, she makes it real clear. Her main focus is finding Joel. One of the guys, clearly worried, asks her how she plans on doing that. That's Abby, drops that Joel's about 50, stands somewhere around 6 feet tall, and he's got a scar running across the right side of his temple. But before making any final call, Abby wants to know one thing, if they're really going to stick by her side, and they swear they're going to find Joel, and when they do, they'll take him out for her no matter what. That's when Abby finally accepts his support. And before leaving that place behind, a place heavy with memory and grief, she says goodbye to her fallen friend, setting her necklace down gently on one of the graves. 5 years after everything that went down, we catch up with Ellie again. This time, she's inside a barn, locked in a fight with a big heavy guy. Even though he's got the physical edge, the man shows her a bit of respect, letting her get back on her feet before throwing the next punch. Ellie charges at him with grit and all the strength she's got, but her attempts don't get her anywhere. She hits the ground again, and this time she tries kicking him hard with both feet, but that don't do much either. Right after that, the guy moves in to choke her out, going straight for the neck. But from that angle, Ellie manages to wrap her legs around his head, locking in a chokehold. Still, the guy ain't going down easy. He shows off his raw power by lifting her clean off the floor, struggling to break free. But he waits too long. The longer he stays caught, the tighter her grip gets until the lack of air starts wearing him down. That's when Ellie turns the tables and gets him pinned. Just before he manages to snap her arm, the fight suddenly comes to a halt when another man shows up. Turns out he's a friend of both of theirs. And just like that, we realize the whole thing was just a sparring session. When he sees how smug and satisfied Ellie looks after what seems like a solid win, the guy she just took down admits that he'd been holding back the whole time. Said his buddy told him to ease up so he wouldn't end up knocking her out cold. That right there ticks Ellie off. She warns him not to ever underestimate her again. As she changes clothes, she admits the fight was still intense and honestly kind of satisfying. Later on, when her friend asks if she's going to show up to the event going down that night, she doesn't even hesitate. As she steps out of the barn, we get a better look at where she's living now. Ellie's part of a settlement in Jackson, Wyoming, a quiet little mountain town where a couple hundred folks have built a well-organized and peaceful way of living. People in the community are always busy doing upkeep, like unclogging pipes that have been jammed up with roots, everyone pitching in to keep the place running smooth. Meanwhile, we catch up with Joel. He's working on some repair project of his own, focused, hands deep in whatever he's fixing until he's interrupted by Dina, a young woman from town who also happens to be Ellie's best friend. She's there asking him for help fixing a busted clay pipe, and Joel's like, yeah, I'll swing by later. When Dina shows some curiosity about what he's working on, he tells her he's fixing up some breakers. He even offers to show her how it's done, starts breaking it down, explaining how electrical circuits work and how to tell if there's still a current running through them. In the middle of this impromptu little lesson, Dina suddenly shifts gears and asks why Ellie's been so cold with him lately. Joel tries to brush it off, chalking it up to just one of those teenage phases, Kids start pushing away from their parents or whoever's looking out for them. He figures it's something that'll blow over with time, but then his whole vibe shifts. The calm sort of melts off his face, and you can see the worry creeping in. He gets quiet and then, almost like he's talking to himself, he wonders out loud what it is he did wrong. Says maybe he's a bit too rough around the edges, too protective. But beyond that, he can't quite pin down a real reason for Ellie keeping Joel might be going to therapy with Gail, the town's therapist. And the second Joel realizes he's been caught, you can see the embarrassment all over his face, not wanting to drag the convo out any longer. He tells her to go on and fix that pipe like they'd planned. But right before she heads off, he looks her in the eye and seriously asks her not to tell anybody that he's seeing a shrink. Meanwhile, somewhere way out of town, Ellie and Tommy are climbing one of the hills that overlook the valley. From up there, Ellie starts doing some target practice with a rifle, taking shots at the infected wandering in the distance. She nails one with her first shot, and Tommy, impressed, tells her to try hitting an infected woman that's shuffling in from even farther out. This time, Ellie only manages to clip her in the leg, doesn't stop her from moving forward. Right then, the two of them realize the noise and activity from the Alpine area has been drawing more infected up into the hills. Seeing the situation getting risky, Tommy says they need to head back ASAP to dispatch a patrol to check things out. On top of that, he lets Ellie know she's getting reassigned. She won't be running with her usual crew anymore. Instead, they're posting her at the front gate of the settlement. Ellie hears that and immediately takes it like it's a demotion, like they're losing faith in her. Tommy tries to explain that it's Joel who's worried about her. Says that last time she went out, she acted way too reckless. That don't sit well with Ellie. She gets heated, reminds Tommy she's an adult now, and that Joel ain't got no say over what she does or doesn't do. That's when Tommy confesses that even if he don't totally agree, he knows better than to go against his brother out in the open. But Ellie, she ain't letting it slide. She fires back, reminding him loud and clear that she's immune, that the infected can't hurt her, so she shouldn't be treated like just another settler. Tommy, nervous now, tells her that talking about that kind of stuff is strictly off limits in public. But Ellie, defiant as ever, raises her voice and shouts that she's got a bite mark on her arm, that it's proof of what she's saying. That bold move earns her a spot back on the patrol team, but not without a very clear warning. She's got to follow the rules from now on. No exceptions. Later on, a group of newcomers rolls into the settlement. While they're getting settled, a woman watching from an office window, turns out she's Joel's sister-in-law, starts voicing her concerns. She says they got to speed up construction because space for new folks is starting to run thin. Joel, with that no-nonsense attitude of his, tosses out a simple solution. Maybe they ought to slow down the flow of people coming in. But his sister-in-law, who's got a say on the council, shuts that down real quick. Says they can't just turn their backs on people looking for shelter, just like they once needed help themselves. Still, Joel pushes back, saying that keeping their own folks safe should come first, letting people in non-stop without a solid system. That's asking for trouble in his eyes. Right after that, Tommy shows up and links up with the family. Joel looks him over and asks where his rifle's at. Tommy, not wanting to spill the truth, lies without blinking, says he was out hunting alone, doesn't mention he'd gone up the ridge with Ellie. Before Joel heads out to work, his sister-in-law sees him off with a comment that hits home. She reminds him that once upon a time, he was a refugee too, looking for a place to call home. Later that day, Joel makes his way to Gail's place. She's the community's therapist. She greets him with a glass of whiskey, saying it's her way of celebrating his birthday. As a thank you, Joel hands her a small bouquet of flowers, just a little symbolic gesture before they get into the session. Once they sit down, Joel opens up, says he's been following her advice, trying to give Ellie her space, not hovering, not pressuring her. He's been taking a step back, letting her come around in her own time. But with a heavy sigh, he admits it doesn't seem to be working. Every time he comes home, Ellie shuts herself in the garage, won't even look at him, won't say a single word. Whenever they pass each other on the street, she greets him with the coldness of someone staring at a total stranger. Even her best friend had the nerve to ask what went down between the two of them. On the flip side, he mentions that Dina still treats him with warmth and real respect, like she sees him as a true father figure, almost like she was actually his own kid. That comparison, though, Joel says it without bitterness, hints at the quiet sadness he's been carrying around deep inside. After hearing him out, Gail reminds Joel that, biologically speaking, Ellie isn't his daughter, but that isn't really the point, she says. The thing that matters most is something else. It sounds like Joel's complaining about one of the oldest, most cliché problems in the book. That whole teenage pushback, the cold shoulder, the eye rolls. It's textbook behavior. Kids grow up and part of that is pulling away from whoever's raising them. It's frustrating, yeah, but totally normal. Still, Gail doesn't let the talk stay so light for long. Her tone shifts. She admits she's noticed Joel's been holding things back from her, and that makes it really tough for her to keep taking the sessions as seriously as she should. The whiskey starts hitting her, and right then she drops the filter. She calls him out, flat out tells Joel that he killed her husband. She says she gets it all right, understands that maybe he didn't have another way, that maybe he had to do what he did. And sure, logically speaking, forgiveness would make sense. But she can't do it, not because of what happened, but because of how it happened. With a raw edge in her voice, she tells him straight up that sitting there looking at him in her own damn house makes her feel this deep, burning rage that she can't just push down. And yet, now that she's finally said it out loud, she starts to think, maybe, just maybe, she's finally ready to begin making peace with him. So she asks Joel to stop holding back and tell her the truth he's been keeping buried inside him. The one thing he refuses to admit when it comes to Ellie. Faced with the weight of the moment, Joel starts trembling. Shaken up, he swears to his therapist that he never hurt Ellie, and through tears, he confesses what he did was save her. With that said, he stands up and walks out of the house without looking back. Meanwhile, over at the Miller house, we see Ellie holed up in the garage, focused on cleaning and fixing up her weapons. She stops what she's doing when Dina shows up for a visit. Dina tells her she's been assigned to the patrol squad too, and she came by to pick her up so they can head out together. The two hop on their horses and ride out toward the meetup point, where the rest of the group's already gathering. The patrol leader lays out the mission. They're taking the Alpine route, following Highway 191 all the way down to Hobach. When she catches sight of Ellie's gear, she reminds her this is a recon mission, not a combat op. So, if they run into more than 2 infected runners, they're to turn around and head straight back. No taking risks that could put the whole team in danger. She also puts Katie in charge. If anything goes sideways, Katie's the one calling the shots. Before they head out, she goes over the signal protocol. Yellow flags mean all's good. Green ones mean there's trouble and they need backup. And just like that, the patrol sets out. They leave the safety of the fortress behind and ride into the snowy wilds beyond. While they travel, Dina takes the chance to ask Ellie if she's going to the event later that night, and if she's thinking of going with Katie, her ex. Ellie, without hesitating, shuts that down right away. So Dina suggests they go together, just the two of them, welcoming the new year in each other's company. She admits she and Jesse just broke things off, so she could really use a bit of support and maybe a little distraction too. Not long after, the group pulls up when Katie gives the signal. They've spotted a blood trail on the road, even though the leader says they ought to head back and report it to the community. Ellie and Dina decide to check it out on their own, driven by curiosity and a need to see what's going on for themselves. Following the blood, they end up at the site of a brutal showdown. Torn up remains and fresh signs of a fight between a bear and several infected. The place is straight up grisly, a harsh reminder of just how wild and unpredictable the world still is, way out there past the walls of Jackson. As they take a closer look at the scene, they realize the infected were hiding inside the truck. Looks like one of them came back to the vehicle to rest after getting its fill off the bear. Not long after, the rest of the patrol shows up, even though the order is given to head back right away. Ellie and Dina decide to ignore it and go after the infected that might still be alive. Once they make their way inside the building, Ellie clearly hears the infected screaming, and she suggests they go in and take care of it quick. But Dina spots something that throws off the plan. It isn't just one infected, it's 2. For a second, she hesitates, but Ellie, not backing down, asks if she's going to let the guys take care of the heavy lifting. That's all it takes to push Dina into action, and she decides to move forward. Inside the building, they creep through the halls, trying not to make a sound. When Ellie spots the first infected across the room, they signal each other to come up with a plan. They split up to take them out from different angles. Ellie grabs an empty bottle to get the attention of the second infected. When it gets close enough, she jumps on it, stabbing it repeatedly until she's sure it ain't a threat anymore. A few moments later, Dina joins her after taking care of her target too. Everything seems under control, but the calm gets shattered when Ellie takes a few steps and the floor gives way under her feet, sending her crashing down to the lower level. Lucky for her, she ain't hurt too bad. She checks her surroundings and sees there ain't any other infected nearby. But then she finds the only way out is blocked by a locked door, and the hole in the ceiling is too high to climb back up. Dina, worried about her, tells her she's going to look for a ladder to help her get out, but warns her to stay put and not wander off so they don't run into any more problems. Even though Dina told her to stay put, Ellie decides to explore the area. She soon discovers she's in what looks like an old office building. As she rummages through the remains and scattered trash on the floor, she finds a worn-out magazine. Right then, she feels a presence lurking in the shadows, watching her. Fear pushes her to grip her rifle, looking for safety as she moves slowly through the hallways, trying to find the infected that's watching her from some hidden corner. At the end of the hallway, she spots an infected moving swiftly on all fours. Ellie yells at it to come closer so she can shoot, but instead of confronting her, the creature backs off fast, making Ellie start a quiet hunt. As Ellie keeps moving, the infected follows her silently from behind, not making a sound. Eventually, the creature's weak growls give away its position. Ellie spins around to shoot, but to her surprise, the infected has vanished back into the shadows. A moment later, the creature jumps out of the darkness and attacks. It manages to knock Ellie down, ripping the rifle from her hands, and then it lunges at her, sinking its teeth into her abdomen. Even though she's in pain, Ellie stays calm. She pulls out her pistol and fires several point-blank shots until the infected finally stops moving. Soon after, Dina bursts through the door and meets up with Ellie. Back at the stronghold, they're called in by the council to report what happened. During the meeting, they tell the leaders that Ellie faced an infected that showed unusual signs of intelligence. The creature was able to hide, climb structures, plan its moves, and even set a trap. After hearing the report, Tommy can't hide his frustration and scolds them for disobeying orders and putting themselves in unnecessary danger. But Ellie stands her ground, firmly reminding him that both he and Joel would have done the same if they were in her shoes. Tommy tries to argue, claiming it's not the same situation, but his words trail off when he locks eyes with his wife, whose critical and challenging expression forces him to go silent. Once the council is alone, the members deliberate in private, although they decide to believe Ellie's account. The fact that only 6 infected were found in the area leads the group to downplay the incident, at least for now. They consider it more sensible to focus on the upcoming New Year's celebration, trusting that everything will stay under control. Meanwhile, we see Ellie in her room carefully disinfecting the bite she got. Then, she goes ahead and stitches the wound herself, skillfully trying to disguise it, making it look like an injury from a weapon. Later, when Joel gets home, he asks her if she's planning to go to the party. He even suggests she should, saying it would do her good to get a little distraction. Ellie, not entirely convinced, responds with doubt. Then Joel notices a guitar in the room. He sees the poor condition of the instrument and offers to fix it, promising to get it back to her the next day. By the end of the day, we see Ellie at the party where the whole town's gathered to celebrate with food, music, and dancing. From a corner, she watches Dina, who seems to have reconciled with her ex, as they both dance happily in the middle of the floor, looking like a cheerful couple. However, as soon as Dina notices Ellie, she stops dancing and makes her way over. Without a word, she invites Ellie to join her on the dance floor. And as they dance, she takes the opportunity to subtly caress her body, closing any distance between them. Ellie, feeling a bit uncomfortable, warns her that all the guys from the Sol Luna, the local watch group, are watching them. But Dina just smiles carelessly and reassures her, saying they're all just jealous of her. Ellie admits she doesn't get why, as she doesn't think she's a threat to anyone. In response, Dina decides to let words go, and without hesitation, leans in to kiss her. Ellie, surprised but moved, kisses her back with even more passion, filled with emotion and repressed desire. The intimacy of the moment is suddenly interrupted when someone from the crowd steps up and sternly reminds them they're in a church at a family event, demanding respect for the place. Dina agrees to leave, but just as they're about to head out, the guy throws an insult their way, attacking their preferences in an offensive. The aggression sparks Ellie's fury, and she's about to confront him. But before she can react, Joel bursts onto the scene. Without thinking twice, he punches the aggressor and throws him out of the place, leaving the onlookers stunned. Then Joel turns to Ellie and asks if she's okay. But instead of showing gratitude, she rejects him harshly, throwing an insult that makes it clear she doesn't want his help or protection. Hours later, when Ellie comes home, she finds Joel waiting at the door with the guitar he fixed. Despite the gesture, she completely ignores him and walks in without saying a word. On the surface, everything seems to be going back to normal in the town. The party keeps going, people are laughing, and the routine seems to fall back into place. However, deep inside the building, among the rusted pipes, new colonies of the fungus start to grow, silently feeding off the roots taken over the place. And beyond the borders of the settlement, a new danger is on the way. The group led by Abby has just arrived, fully armed and ready to do whatever it takes to get their revenge. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did, make sure to subscribe for more awesome content. Thanks for watching.